Hello? Can you hear me? That is my first question because I am running a little late. Okay, there we go. I got this. Hi! How is everyone? I am going to post the information on this on my Instagram before I continue. Hi, Tatiana. Gonna give it a couple minutes, people coming in or something like that, as I'm finishing posting it to my Instagram, which I should have done before. Okay. How are you, Tatiana? Today we are going over parts of this book. So, Elemental Witchcraft by Heron Michelle. So, going to give a couple minutes more before we start. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. Okay. We got a couple people here. Don't know how much longer I would like to wait before I continue going in and talking about this, or maybe even possibly rescheduling it because I did not post reminders about this book club happening. So, yeah. Whoops. That would be my fault. I'm going to give it another 3 minutes and start talking about the books. I always feel bad when the time of a live video such as this or something happens when I don't set proper reminders for other people, because that ends up not giving me proper reminders for getting here. So it's always not a good thing when I'm so ill prepared. Hi, Christina. Good to see you here. But it happens. That's okay. I will talk about the book. It wasn't exactly like it's a good book. It's a very interesting book. Hi, Lexi. It's just not really a book club type of book, as I've discovered as I kept reading it, and I also didn't read all of it. So there's that. So we'll talk about it in a little bit. In about 2 more minutes, I'm gonna go in. So the book we were going over is Elemental Witchcraft by Heron Michelle. This one here. And how do I put it? So it's not really, it is very interesting. It is a very interesting book, but it's more so of like a workbook type of thing, or like a guidebook type of thing. And especially a portion of it is used to work alongside with the Wheel of the Year, and it's recommended to start in Samhain. So there's no way this book club could read that book like now if we want to follow along with it. So I only read like a part of it, but it is really interesting, and I like to talk a couple of things that I've read over and that sort of stuff. So yeah. So the I started reading it, and it said like section 3, you need to start at this specific time, like that it's recommended. And I'm like, this is not a book club type of book. Hi, Taylor. Yeah, it is a dense book. Same. It's a manual. It is a manual that you're supposed to kind of follow along, and it is dense with like information. I like some of the things that she talks about and goes over with it, but it is not like the previous book we read where it kind of had like a flow or like a story version type of thing. This is more of a manual or a like guidebook, instruction book, that type of thing. So it is not as flowy as to read as the other ones. So that brings us there. Yeah. All right, so I will start talking about it, and I've already brought up how it's more of like a workbook, not exactly like a book club book type of thing. But a question is, if you are interested in kind of doing it together as a work book type of thing, starting on Samhain, to kind of go through the information that it has here, that could be an option to do, because it is interesting. I do like some of the information she goes over and how she explains certain things. Like as far as I've read, it seems like my interpretation of the way the magic or the ism works is very similar as to the way she's defining it. But it is really, really interesting. So the first part that I do want to talk about is this lovely graph that she has here at the beginning. And it talks about the ism. And I love her information on, the isness. And it talks about how the isness is like, it is what it is. If you take away everything that will give you like a bias or an opinionation on something or whatnot, it is what it is remained, and that is like the core of everything, which I really like the way she like interpreted that, and the way she like brought that up, and the way she kind of talked about it. So it was really like interesting. So her isness term, I'm definitely going to start using it, because it goes like deeper than like the magic that is usually talked about. Yeah, so I'm going to show the graph, and if you have the book, it is on page 19, figure 1. So it is like straight up workbook. I'm going to show that there. And then I'm going to kind of like read through some of the stuff that's on here. So she has like on the outside of kind of like what everything is encompasses is the nature. So nature is everything. And then it talks about formal sciences, natural sciences, humanities, and social sciences. Then it kind of breaks that down and how it's interconnected between the two and that sort of thing. And then how those are interconnected. So it goes into spirituality, art, quantum physics, and magic. And then at the core center is that isness of it is what it is, that type of thing. So I really enjoyed the way she kind of talked that up and like created that graph, because I feel like it's like really good visual representation of just how everything is connected, regardless if you believe that it is or that it's not. So your belief on, science being connected with magic doesn't really affect it, because it is what it is. So I love that. I really love that. All right, so starting off with that, if the couple of you that are here, if you have read some or part of it, is there something that you want to point out or like kind of talk about before? Because I have a couple tabs, and I was just gonna kind of go down the line and see what happens. But that might be cool to do together. That could be cool to do together. That might be something fun and different. I don't know what's going to be happening around Samhain, so I can't promise that that's something that will happen. But it could be something to think about, maybe. I don't know. Yes, about the breakdown. Definitely. Okay, so if you do have something that you want to kind of talk about, wedding planning. Oh, wedding planning is fun and stressful like crazy, but kind of fun. I don't know. I like planning things. So hope everything goes well with that, Taylor. And hello, Lightfoot. Good to see you here. All right, so I'm just gonna continue going on the tabs, and if anyone that read the book or part of it or wants something to say, just jump in the comments, put it down. I'm gonna keep an eye on it and see how far I can get through the tabs before getting distracted and talking about what the comments are saying, because every single live that happens, it's just kind of like all over the place. Just bear with me, ADHD brain. That's how we work. Okay, on to my first tab. So a couple of these tabs are just like really quick quotes that I find really interesting. About the way that my brain works and talking about everything all up and down. Right in her introduction, it was really interesting because she talked about ADHD and how she has ADHD and how it helps her with like the hyper feeling, hyper focus, and that sort of thing, like throughout her life as a practitioner. That was really cool because I'm late diagnosed ADHD. I was diagnosed about a year ago, and that just everything just made so much more sense. But in reality, because someone who is not neurodivergent in such a way, you are a bit more perceptive to everything and you respond to things a lot more sensitively than a neurotypical person would. And I've also found out that in my community and in my lovely pagan people that I have talked with throughout my YouTube and that sort of thing, a lot are neurodivergent. And it's fascinating because neurodivergency is not a bad thing. It's just that our brain works better than what's considered a neurotypical. And to be honest, I don't think typical and divergent are proper terms to use. It is just one way or a different way. So having that neurodivergency or that neurospiciness that's kind of coined now right now really helps elevate your sensitivities to other things than a neurotypical kind of like mindset or perception would. And I thought it was kind of like funny when I got diagnosed, because I thought that, you know, because I'm in such a community starting now with like the whole YouTube thing, that the way that I thought, the way that I perceived the world was relatively normal. And then I found out that it is not. And then talking to other people, talking to other like neurospicy people, it's fascinating just how sometimes medically it could be seen as like a disorder or like a negative thing or something like that. But there are so many positives when it comes to having a different way of perception or a different way of seeing the world or a different way of interacting the world. And it is wonderful. So there is my little soapbox speech about neurospicy people are awesome and neurotypical people are awesome and everybody is awesome in their own wonderful way. Okay. Let's see. If we thought the same way, we could be all doing the same thing. Yep. 26. Hypo-awareness, ADHD, and page 28, how nature is our best instructor. Yeah, I didn't get that far. I am on... Oh, I'm sorry. No, I did get that far. I'm on page 43. That's how far I got. Okay. Yes. So I know what you're talking about now. Let's see. Next part is still in the introduction on page 4. Talks about modern witchcraft is also a spirituality which blends science, knowledge, and ancient mysticism with the goal of evolving beyond the pitfalls of other religions. And I loved it because a lot of the times when I talk about the way that I perceive magic is I say that it's a science that has not been explained yet, because so much of science that has been explained as of now was considered to be magic beforehand. So I really love how she like implicates the whole, how do I put it, like connection of literally everything that's around us. Hi, Lily. You're the oddball, thinking becoming exposed to others who are like me. Just see where I feel. Nice. Fitting in is, it's kind of like a good feeling to have. So the next book, we have not voted on it. We usually, last couple of times that it ended up happening is we would vote on a book for the next book club meeting and we'll see where we go. So I don't think we're going to be continuing on with this book because it is more workbook. It is not very book club book. So I'm going to post the other 2 options that we had from last book club meeting talk, and we'll vote on one of those because those are more book clubby, less workbooky. There. And if anyone has book recommendations, drop them down. We'll go over them. Yeah. Okay. Continuing on with the stuff that's in the book, and I'm going through my tabs. So I got to the part where it said when to start. It said you can dive right in for section 1 and 2, and then section 3 you should start when it's in the Sabbath of Samhain, and it goes northern 15 degrees Scorpio, southern 15 degrees Taurus, and I'm like, yeah, we're in the opposite wheel of the year for that to happen. So moving on from actually continuing on this book. So with section 1, I liked it when she talked about that well-informed witches tend to be people of the library because the seeds of knowledge must be collected from many sources, which often contradict each other. And I thought it was going to be like a really cool quote to kind of bring up here because we have a book club where we talk about books in libraries and that sort of thing. And it just makes me happy that it's such a well accepted and like well necessity to talk about not to talk about, to do the research, to do the readings, to gain knowledge, gain information. It is a practice. Witchcraft is the study of knowledge of all things, which is great. So yeah, that sort of thing. Okay. Another part on page 22, I like how she describes what paganism is and kind of what is very common throughout the pagan religions. So she breaks up the religions into two sections, pagans and Abrahamic religions, but instead of calling them Abrahamic religions, she calls them invasive orthodoxies, which I found to be kind of amusing, and I like that term, but you can tell just how much she dislikes and like has such a very high disdain for that religion, which is interesting. Like she's very forthcoming in explaining how much she dislikes it. But I like the way she calls it invasive orthodoxies, which that's a valid explanation. Let's see. Weave the liminal or anatomy a witch for book clubs in the future. Okay. I will write that down. I should probably write it down this way. Weave the liminal and anatomy of a witch. Cool. Okay. So she also creates a list of commonalities of what she's kind of discovered of the pagan religions, of every being like part of the earth. And I really like it because that's a good way of explaining it and kind of connecting or kind of showing how distinctive it is between pagan religions versus Abrahamic religions or the invasive orthodoxies. So she goes, sacredness of all natures, including all genders of human, worship of many goddesses and gods who are associated with natural phenomenon, more sexually permissive, then celebration of repeating cycles of nature linked with continuation of life, death, and rebirth, techniques for reunion with spirit that we experience as ecstasy, interconnection of consciousness within all things with mutual responsibility throughout, then veneration of hosts of spiritual entities within multiple dimensions, some benevolent, some baneful, but usually complex with various levels of agency, and hidden magic just beneath the obvious, which may be tapped to effect change. And I really, really enjoy the way she kind of described that. Invasive is so valid. Intro took way too long. Intro did take very long. So the reason she goes over and calls it invasive orthodoxies, because she says that religious mandate to bully their way into other cultures, dominate and subjugate and eradicate the worship of the local gods and goddesses through coercion. Orthodoxies, because they impose their exclusive right beliefs as the only possible gateway to one exclusively male God, then condemn and threaten violence upon all who refuse the one gateway they control. And that's a harsh way to kind of express it, but that is valid. Like that's definitely one way to look at it. There's another part that she talks also about. I'm going to skip ahead for my little tabs and things like that. In regards to the locus of control, and this is on page 31, And she talks about, like, within psychology, locus of control refers to the location of where we believe the source of control over our lives originates. And I've had this conversation with my husband multiple times of how a lot of those Abrahamic religion or invasive orthodoxy religions have a very easy and open way to blame whatever happened on something else and never take responsibility for it. And she hits it like so good. Like, she hits the nail on the head so good, explaining that kind of like that kind of information, that kind of perception, just the way that it is handled through the way that it's handled between the two different religions, or like the two different, I don't want to say religions because paganism isn't exactly a religion, two different paths. Okay, between the Abrahamic and the pagan religions. I'm not going to say two different things because there's more than two. Anyways, so and it goes that it says that they personally installed an external locus of control with the belief that outside forces are calling all the shots and you have no say in the matter. This is for the Abrahamic slash Orthodox, the invading orthodoxies. Like a leaf being tossed about in the wind, you might think you are helplessly pushed around by force beyond your control. Let's see. And it says, this external thoughts, you might be unwittingly fulfilling your own prophecy and handing over your power to that imagined controller. And I love how she says that, because you create your own reality with your thoughts, your own perceptions. That's the basis of magic, is being in control of your own like mindset and being able to like follow that thing. Yeah. And so I've really liked when she brought that up. And even if like it's a good good way to blame something if something bad were to happen, like you don't take credit for it because something bad were to happen. It doesn't affect you, kind of, sort of, because it's not your fault, however you want to put it. But also, something good were to happen, you also don't take credit for it. You don't celebrate yourself. You don't say that you're the one that accomplished something. You point it out to an external force, like that force helped you get to where you are now, which is why you have, such a good life, or why you have such a bad life. And it completely nulls your thinking of how to get to a different part, because you're just relying on whatever that force is going to happen. And when you do like an internal locus of control, which is more of the pagan based approach, where you are responsible for your own thoughts, your own actions, you have to live with your own choices and consequences, whether they be good or bad. So if it's something that has happened negatively, or something that didn't go great through your life, or whatever the case may be, you can reflect on it within yourself and try to find a solution for it, or how to move on from it, or how to break through that habit for it, and be able to give yourself the control to do something about it if you want to do something about it. And at the same time, if you do something good, you can celebrate yourself, say that I am amazing because I'm the one that accomplished this. And I feel like it just, reading this hit home for me, because I struggle a lot of it. I grew up in a very invasive orthodoxy religion, and a lot of the things is that belief system of something is outside of the control and something that I can't do it. So realizing that I am the one in control was like really nice reading through this book. So I really, really liked that portion of it. So there's my little soapbox speech on that. Let's see. Gatekeeping is so harsh in any belief system. Yes. Good scapegoat. Yes. And the two different belief systems. Thank you so much for that. So, all right. So that was a really good portion. So I like this book. I really enjoy the like the way she's talking about it. It's just more of a slower read and a workbook style. So it's almost like you're reading a school textbook, kind of sort of like you're taking a course in a school textbook. That's kind of the vibe or the essence you get from the book, if that makes sense. If you love to study and you just want like enjoy the format of those study type of books, then this would be great for you. But it's more of like a study, a workbook type of thing, not exactly a sit down with a cup of coffee and like read. Like this I need to like take out my notebook and take notes on it, because it's more so that way. Yeah, writing notes while you were reading. Exactly. That's what I had to do. I was reading and I'm like, hold on, I need to get my like pencil out for this so I can underline things. I have my my little sticky notes to write notes on it or everything. So it's definitely like a school workbook type of vibe. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go back to other couple of things. Let's see what else interesting stuff to hear. Or a lot of the interesting stuff. She also talks about how there's like a battle cry among some witches or practitioners saying like smash the patriarchy or whatnot. And I've heard it a couple times as well, like scrolling through social media, that type of thing. And each time I heard it, I was like, yeah, sure, but you just sound like you're trying to do the same thing that they're trying to do, just calling it in a different way and calling it from your perspective. And she addresses that, which is wonderful. And it goes, she says, I'm just going to read this. To the end, it has become a common battle cry among witches to smash the patriarchy, and I absolutely understand that impulse. However, our word choices might be part of the problem. Allow me to plant the seed of thought. We cannot smash the patriarchy using patriarchal weapons. The tools of the patriarchy are fear, oppression, and domination. Smash things, and we've only staged a coup with a change of bully regime and improved nothing. And that's like, I really like the way she ended up addressing it, because I have heard that terminology used, like smash the patriarchy or curse the patriarchy or all of that type of stuff. And I never like really resonated with it, because it just felt aggressive and that they're doing the same exact thing that the patriarchal religion is doing, just calling it differently. Okay, you got to an exercise, takes more time. Yeah, so it's that kind of book. Let's see what else. Talk about some other things. She also talks about syncretic and eclectic practices. This is on page 30. And it goes, if you really dig down to the roots, you find that every major world religion and every flavor of ancient paganism and witchcraft are both syncretic and eclectic. This is what I learned from modern witchcraft founders by their example, if not by creed. Syncretism results from the attempt to blend and reconcile varying and sometimes opposing principles and practices within philosophy and religion. Eclectic means keeping what one considers to be the best elements, not following any one particular system, instead forging a new system for many parts. So I consider myself an eclectic practitioner or an eclectic pagan, because I studied various different forms and various different parts of different religions, and just kind of go with what resonates with me and what my energy soul calls out for. I don't like subscribe to any particular religion. I am not Wiccan. I am not Celtic. I am not anything. I am a spiritual going through my spiritual journey and doing the best that I can, learning as much as I can, and connecting with nature as much as I can. So her talking about how like paganism and witchcraft is already like syncretic and eclectic, and not necessarily something that is completely so stuck. Like we have different types of religions, like I said, Wicca or Celtic, or there's so many others, but those are the only two that are kind of coming to mind right now. That they started off as being eclectic as well before it became more commonly practiced altogether. That sort of thing. So it's good to kind of rethink or reframe your mindset if you have a mindset that's saying that the way that a religion is the way that a religion is supposed to be. There's been a lot of talk about different closed practices and that sort of thing, and traditions and things like that, which I completely understand. And yes, there's a lot of traditions and practices that are sacred specifically to specific people, but that didn't just become and start becoming that, and that is all it was. It grew from the past, it grew from previous knowledge, from previous practices, from previous things, and moved and evolved to what it currently is today. And it will continue and moving on to something different 10 years from now, and that sort of thing, because we are evolving beings, we are moving beings, that sort of thing. So it's good to kind of step back and realize that even though we have these different deviations of pagan religions, and they have a name and they have practices and they have a lot of things that correspond with that particular name and that calls under that name, but it has that name now. And before, it took information and learning and knowledges from whatever it could from what came before it. Does that make sense? Kind of went in total tangent right now, but I'm just trying to like talk about how everything is moving and evolving, and nothing is like set in stone and stagnant. And just because one thing is called one thing today, it's not going to be the same exact thing 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, that sort of thing. It's a flow of energies and magic and knowledge and learning. And if it is going to be the same exact thing from today to 10 years from now, then that's not exactly something that you should really focus on. So stuck in the past mindset and not be caught up with the current energies of the world that are happening now, that it's not going to be effective for the current life that you're living in at the moment. You're still going to be trying to appease the energies or like the lifestyle or whatnot, what happened in the past. So everything has to evolve, has to move forward as the world evolves, the energies evolves, the gods evolves, all of that stuff. You evolve, all of those things. So things are moving, things are changing, and it's good the way that she doesn't touch on it like directly as I just did, completely like talking about the different religions, but she does kind of talk about how paganism and witchcraft is syncretic and eclectic. So yeah. Let's see. I got to the 3rd chapter of religious history and put it down. I want to get through it so I can get some of the exercise, since I know there's good stuff in there. History is important too, but it felt almost unrelated to the title of the book, hoping it ties in somewhat. History is good to know at least where the roots come from and kind of maybe where some of these ideas are coming from, which I think is why she put it in the book. Because, or another reason why she could be putting it in the book is to kind of like cover her bases as to where she's drawing in this information from, kind of sort of thing. I didn't get as far as you did, I don't think. Again, the book was dense and it didn't exactly consider it like book club material. I got to page 43, so there's that. Dilemma Alexandrian. Yep. I'm interested in Celtic practice, however, my guides keep talking me in another direction. Follow your guides. Follow what feels right for you. Total sense. Yes. Ever evolving practice. Yes. Awesome. All right. I'm glad we're on the same page. Maybe even kind of like literally, since we might be both holding the same exact book. Okay, so that part. Let's see. Another good part is when she talks about the way path or the following of this book. And she says, working through a book like this one is a lot like following an established map. They are very handy artifacts from those who've trod the path before us, but we know that change to the landscape is inevitable through time, and the experience is unique to the traveler. And again, she talks about like change and evolving, and how even though she puts together this book that she brought out with all of the information and practices and all that stuff, it's kind of like a map of where to go and how to get there. But the way that you interpret things, the way that you actually get there, I read like the comments over here and that like totally loses my train of thought. I need to like cover it up with something so that I don't look over there and like move it out of the way, because that if you see me like talking to you and then I look over this way and like I lose my track of thoughts because I was trying to read a comment. Now I'm totally derailed. Right. It is your own personal experience, regardless of how you follow the map. And I like how she points that out. Oh my gosh. Another term that is new here, like the first term that she talks about, the isness, that she goes over it. I like that term. I'm gonna start using it talking about things afterwards. But she talked about a Book of Mirrors journal, which is an interesting way of calling it, because I was doing the same exact thing that she like described it talking about, but calling it like my Book of Shadows, since it's about my shadow self and whatnot. So I feel like it's a little bit synonymous with Book of Shadows and a mirrors journal, Book of Mirrors journal. But I like the way she kind of went over that and talked about it, which was really nice. This does make sense. I appreciate her sources. Fit in your, yeah. So the Book of Mirrors is pretty interesting. I like that term. I started just putting everything into one book and just like making an itinerary, a index of what is where, since that ends up working for me like now. But I did like separate a lot of things, and I journal a lot, so it's kind of the same concept almost. Let's see. I'm looking at more of my tabs over here. So critical thinking skills, she goes over, and she says she encourages you to question everything about your world, existence, and spirituality. Dissect it, rearrange it, test drive it until the wheels fall off. Dismiss what offends your soul, as they say, and then repeat the things that ring true for you. So I really liked the way she went over that way. And she said, in order to discover what is most effective as a practitioner or as a witch, that sort of thing, we have to study, experiment, and then record our findings. And that it's critical, which is actually do the things, not just read about the things, not just talk about the things, not just look about the things. If you want to be a practitioner, you got to practice the things. So I really like that. And she says, whatever you write down is going to be subjective. There are no wrong answers in a journal entry. So don't censor yourself. That's another thing that I talk about or mention very frequently when I talk about journaling, is to write what it feels. Don't write like someone else is going to read it. Write exactly what is on your mind without filtering it. If you want to swear in it, swear in it. If you want to I don't know, just draw in it, because that is a reflection of what you're currently feeling, what you're currently going through, and that sort of thing. So I really like how she's saying that there are no wrong answers, because they're really not. If you're doing a self-reflection journal, or if you're doing a book of mirrors journal, or if you're just journaling in general, there's a lot of J sounds in that sentence. Don't censor it yourself. I mean, it really it could be sometimes a challenge to not censor yourself when you're writing things if you live in an environment where that could be like discovered. Like, for example, for me growing up, I would keep journals and diaries throughout my entire childhood, but I had to censor it and use code. And then towards the end, I just started writing the whole thing in Theban, because my mother would take my diary and read it and would quote things back from it and that sort of thing. So towards the end, my diary was just filled with Theban writing, and Theban is um, it's the American alphabet, but in different symbols, and it was used for it's like the witch's alphabet kind of sort of thing. It's not its own language. It is the English alphabet equivalent with different symbols, that sort of thing. So yeah, so don't find a way where you don't censor yourself, but I can understand if it's something that you kind of can't do. So it's a challenge. And she also talks about magical handwriting and how it's better to handwrite things, which I absolutely agree. I am a pretty journal and a pretty pen type of person, and that's just sort of like a good connection. But also don't take it as a sense that you have to do all of your things via handwriting, even though it is optimal because of the way that she talks about it connects, with your brain, your psychology, and that sort of thing. But sometimes people can't handwrite and they have to type it, and that's absolutely okay. So there's nothing wrong with it. Or again, going back to the whole censoring thing, maybe you're unable to keep something secret, like a journal or that sort of thing, and you can only do it like typing something up online or keeping it in a Google Docs where it's a lot more secure and less accessible for somebody else. Work on it that way. So it's not necessary for you to, handwriting is preferred. It's always nice, at least from my perspective and her perspective and like psychological perspective. It does connect you to what you're writing. You remember things better, you go over things better, that sort of thing. But if it's not an option for you, or if it's or if typing it up is a more ideal option for you that works better for you, go with it that way. Work with what works for you. So there's my little speech on that, because it seems like she kind of said that, because it works so well, you kind of have to do it in that sense. She talks about like digital format or using voice messages in kind of like a little bit of a negative way, but there are disabilities where people can't handwrite things. And again, there's also for other reasons why people can't keep an actual like physical journal. So I want to point it out that it is okay to deviate from whatever anybody says and do what is right for you. So there's that. that Thank you for that. I found code my diary. I don't remember any Theban of it right now, but I would be really good at it, and I should pull out like one of my journals from somewhere and show you like the pages of just Theban. Let me see if I can pull up on my phone of what the Theban alphabet is, and that way I can show you. Where's one that looks the least ridiculous, because some of these are extreme like examples of it. All right, so Theban alphabet is something like that. So it's the English alphabet just with different symbols. And it looks really cool when you write it too. It's just, I don't know, code. It looks witchy and whatnot. So that was also a lot of fun. And I could tell when my mother like got to the pages where I started writing in Theban, because she would be like agitated, and she afterwards called me out and was like, what is this you're writing? Like, what, are you learning a new language or whatnot? And like, she didn't hide the fact that she read my diary at all. But it's funny how it like stumped her and she didn't like that, and I continued doing it. So there's that. And if you don't like practice it often or like continue writing in Theban in those symbols, it all kind of like blurs together. It just looks like little squiggles, which is kind of cool, and you can't really discernate one symbol from the other. Like, it's as if you're looking at like hieroglyphics, or if you're looking at Japanese or like Asian writing, that sort of like caricatures or characters, that sort of thing. You can't make out what it is, which was great. It worked for me. Hi, Peggy. Let's see. In an age where everyone is used to having everything they read on the internet, sometimes hard to remember when journaling. Yes, that is true. She caused me to buy another journal. I restrained myself. I wanted to really bad, but I was like, nope, I need to finish this other one. But yeah, I love journals. Journals are great. I think digital formats are totally valid, and you can use what resonates or works for you best. Yes. Hi, Peggy, that sort of thing. So in regards to digital formats, can sometimes also be very beneficial. My crystals and my herbs are almost all of it is digitally like put in, and it's on a Google Docs format, so that I can access it from my phone or from my computer or from literally any digital device if I want to look up a name for, if I want to look up a correspondence for an herb or a crystal, that sort of thing. That way I'm not flipping through many pages or like looking through a book. I can just pop up the little search bar and type in the name of a crystal, and it will bring me to if I have that crystal, or if I want to put down an idea like protection, and it will just highlight everything that has the word protection in it, which could be like multiple crystals, multiple herbs, and that sort of thing. So having things digitized is also really beneficial. So that sort of thing. Need to make a digital document for my items. I went like a step further with my crystals because I'm ridiculous and I have a collection that is a stupid size at this point. I have numbered the boxes, and so I would put down the crystal name and the box number that it's in. So that when I search for it, it will pop up that information and be like, oh, okay, box 8. I will just go and pull out that box, and I don't have to dig through all of that thing. So I did the same thing with my herbs and with my crystals because I have such a collection, and it just makes it easier to find and navigate things. So yeah, do whatever works for you. A full inventory. Mm-hmm. So, all right. And I think that is pretty much as far as I got. I'm like halfway through chapter 2, where she's talking about, or she's paraphrasing of the creation story, which is really cool to read. But that's about as far as I got because this book is dense and a workbook type of thing, or like a school study book. So with this in mind, I assume those who have started reading it are interested in this book, but would like to move on to a more book-friendly book type of thing for the next video. Or would you like to continue with this book? But I think continuing with this book will not be the best idea because we're going to end up coming to like a roadblock of the other section that needs to get done at like a specific time that she recommends. So we're scrapping this book for this book club. We're going to vote on the next book. And I'm going to pull out my little notebook that I had written down about the other book options. So one of them was the Kabbalah of Light. Where did it go? Give me a second. Where did I write it? Oh, come on. Okay. There is, the two options are the Crooked Path. I'm going up on Amazon. And the where'd it go? Okay. So Kabbalah of Light. I spelled Kabbalah right. There's that option for next book vote, or the Crooked Path. And I'm going to pop in another option. Oh, no, wrong book. Wrong button. It's called Cosmic Serpent. Which I loved. Cosmic Serpent, DNA and Origins of Knowledge. So if you're a medical science-y type of person, Kabbalah, okay. Cosmic Serpent. All right, and I'm going to read through I'll go through information of like the brief introduction for it. So for the Crooked Path, it says, part the thorny bramble and take a walk along the bewitchingly mysterious crooked path. Within these pages, discover a wealth of hands-on tips and techniques to begin your journey into the realm of traditional witchcraft. Learn to weave a powerful personal practice that is informed by folklore and grounded in your own location and natural landscape. Along the way, you will find valuable information regarding the tools, rituals, and spell of this fascinating tradition, together with lessons on connecting with deities, familiar spirits, ancestors, and the spirits of place. So that is for the Crooked Path. Then the other one is Kabbalah of Light. And this one is Kabbalah. I'm pronouncing it wrong. No, I don't like the description of it has on Amazon. I like the description that it has on the back of the book. An exercise and practices to tap instantly into your subconscious mind and receive answers to your most important questions. So it goes about igniting the imagination and illuminating the soul. And it's based on like past practices. Then there is the Cosmic Serpent, DNA and Origins of Knowledge. And that book like blew my mind when I read it. And it talks about kind connection of spirituality and how connection of our genetics, our DNA with spirituality and the way we perceive like magic or information from the world. It's more of like science-y kind of talk. There's a lot of terminology when it comes to like medical terms or like biological terms and that sort of thing. But it was really interesting the way that he connected the our DNA with spirituality, and actually used that book as a reference for a research paper that I did for school, which was pretty cool. So those are the 3 books, and I am going to start a poll. So the light path or cosmic serpent. Okay. We shall find out what the next book is. Kabbalah. Keep saying Kabbalah. Kabbalah of Light. I apologize. While that is up, I actually have the Kabbalah of Light book with me, and let me go grab it really quickly to make sure that it's not a workbook style. So give me a second. They all sound really good, though. The books, yeah, they do, which is why it's tough to pick one, and I'm putting that up on you guys to decide. So, it does have exercises in it, but it seems to be more of a flowy way. Like, that's like the way that it goes about. And in the back says, step-by-step guide to Kabbalistic practices to connect with your natural inner genius and liberate the light within you. It reveals how to tap instantly into the subconscious and receive answers to urgent questions. So that might be something interesting to go through. Shares 160 exercises, practices to help you begin dialoguing with your subconscious through images. I don't know. Another question for you guys in regards to this book. I feel like I love doing the book club, and once a month works for me if it works for you. But I was thinking of doing it like every other Tuesday, so it ends up becoming like twice a month for a book club meeting. Are you guys interested in doing something like that? So we'd have 2 meetings for like the same book, that sort of thing. So like read half of the book, one part of it, and then the other half of the other part of it. So thoughts. Thoughts of doing it twice a month, every other Tuesday. I think that could work. And it seems that the crooked path is winning. Okay, so we have 7 votes. There's currently 8 people present. I think that about covers it because it's about 50% for the crooked path. So the crooked path would be down. And so it seems people are okay with doing it every other Tuesday. Okay, so next meeting will be on the 30th. And probably around the same-ish time, around noon-ish. Yeah. Changing your poll pick? Uh-oh. You don't have to change your poll pick. But I think... I think The Crooked Path will be a good book to go through. It's 240 pages. Yeah, that is a good book club book. All right, so we're going with The Crooked Path, An Introduction to Traditional Witchcraft by Kelvin. And I'm going to plop that in here. I'm ending the poll. Is it next book? Crooked Path. Here's the link to it, or Amazon, or you could get it at the library or any other bookstore, whatever is most convenient for you, or on Audible or whatnot. So I will see you all on the 30th, and I'm excited to do this twice a month now. So yeah, twice for the same book, unless we all end up like hating the book. Like for the reason why I'm bringing up the whole like every other week is because this one, if we would have stopped with it at like 2-week in mark, because it wasn't exactly like a book club book, we could have already moved on to a different kind of book. But anyways, we shall see. I'm going to be opening up a tab on my website when it comes to like the books. Like I'm going to be putting in information of like the more book club meeting things, not just like the event happening. So it'll be like a whole page for it where you can leave comments as we're like going through about that book. So yeah, and you can respond to other people and that sort of thing. All right, we got the next book. We got the next day that this is happening. Most likely be around noonish time now. And yeah, it was so good to chat with you guys and hang out with you guys and talk about all this stuff. So it was great. I will see you all in my next video or next whatever is happening. Next week, I will be a little bit less active. I'm having surgery. Fun times. But next week and probably the week after that will be a little bit less active, but everything should be good for the week afterwards. So with that, I will see you guys later. I love you all.